Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Chinese cyber attack targets the US Treasury. Hackers access unclassified documents. Beijing calls these claims groundless. Trouble mounts for South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol as court issues arrest warrant. Acting President Choi to appoint 2 Constitutional Court justices immediately. And New Zealand ushers in the new year with a fireworks display. Other iconic cities like Sydney, Dubai, Hong Kong prepare to celebrate 2025. Chinese state-sponsored hackers breached the US Treasury Department's computer security guardrails this month and stole documents. The hackers compromised third-party cybersecurity service provider Beyond Trust and were able to access unclassified documents.
The US Treasury Department said Monday that a China state-sponsored actor was behind a cyber breach, resulting in access to some of its workstations. The incident happened earlier this month when the actor compromised a third-party cybersecurity service provider and was able to remotely access the Treasury workstations and some unclassified documents. Treasury contacted the US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency after it was alerted of the situation by its provider, Beyond Trust. The compromised Beyond Trust service has been subsequently taken offline. The Treasury has attributed the incident to a China state-sponsored advanced persistent threat actor. An APT refers to a cyber attack where an intruder establishes and maintains unauthorized access to a target, remaining undetected for a sustained period of time. The department did not provide further details on what was affected by the breach, but said more information would be released in a supplemental report at a later date. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Beijing called these claims of Chinese state-sponsored hackers being the ones behind the cyber breach at the US Treasury Department as groundless and politically motivated. Speaking at a regular news on Tuesday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said that China has always opposed all forms of hacker attacks.
We have repeatedly stated our position on such groundless allegations which lack evidence. China has always opposed all forms of hacker attacks, and we are even more opposed to spreading false information against China for political purposes.
It's not the first time that the Chinese hackers have targeted the US government. There's a brief history of alleged cyber attacks by China on the United States and Europe.
In March 2024, US Department of Justice indictment revealed that 7 hackers associated with Chinese government were charged with computer intrusions targeting perceived critics of China and US businesses and politicians. Over 10,000 malicious emails impacting thousands of victims across multiple continents were reported. As alleged in the indictment, it was part of a global hacking operation which targeted journalists, political officials, and companies to repress critics of China and its regime, compromise government institutions, and steal trade secrets. May 2024, Chinese hackers hit Britain's Ministry of Defence with a cyber attack that exposed sensitive information on every troop apart from the UK's Special Forces. The attackers targeted a third-party contractor to access names and bank details of current and former members of the armed forces. The UK Minister of Defence stopped short of publicly naming China as the culprit. February 2024, Chinese spies placed malware in a Dutch military network in 2023. The network was not connected to the Defence Ministry's main network, which reduced damage. Netherlands has publicly accused China of cyber espionage. August 2023, Chinese hackers obtained personal and political emails of a US congressman from Nebraska. The hackers exploited the same Microsoft vulnerability that gave them access to emails from the State Department and Department of Commerce. May 2023, Chinese hackers breached communications networks at a US outpost in Guam. The hackers used legitimate credentials, making it harder to detect them. December 2022, Chinese government-linked hackers stole at least $20 million in COVID-19 relief funds from the US government, including Small Business Administration loans and unemployment insurance money. The US Secret Service announced they retrieved half of the stolen funds.
On to Asia now. A South Korean court issued an arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday, who faces a criminal investigation for possible insurrection after declaring martial law on December the 3rd. Yoon's lawyer called the warrant invalid, while supporters and opponents rallied near his residence in Seoul. Some residents called the warrant late but fortunate. Diptanshu Kashyap has more.
After being impeached and suspended from power for imposing martial law on 3rd December, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's troubles keep mounting as he now faces an arrest warrant approved by a court on Tuesday. This marks the first ever arrest warrant issued for an incumbent president. Yoon is under investigation for possible insurrection charges, and the court also approved a search warrant for his residence. Opponents outside his home in Seoul are baying for action.
The investigative authorities have issued a summons request, but it has been ignored. As a result, they have obtained an arrest warrant and are proceeding with the arrest. However, even regarding this arrest warrant, Yoon Suk-yeol, who is accused of treason, claims it is illegal and refuses to acknowledge it. Therefore, it is imperative that this arrest warrant is executed and that this individual faces legal consequences.
Supporters of the warrant believe Yoon should have been arrested much sooner for his actions.
Despite repeated summons, President Yoon Suk-yeol has refused to attend, which makes it worse. I believe he should have been arrested when he declared martial law, as it was illegal. Although it feels late, I think the warrant is at least fortunate.
In response, Yoon's lawyer stated that his client's martial law declaration did not constitute insurrection and called the arrest warrant invalid. It remains unclear when or how the warrant will be executed.
The declaration of martial law is a power granted to the president under the Constitution. The president exercised this authority legitimately as part of their duty to protect the constitutional order of the nation.
Even Yoon's supporters expressed their support for the embattled president and opposed the arrest warrant.
The arrest warrant for President Yoon Suk-yeol is invalid. I came here to oppose the execution of the warrant. There are a lot of people supporting President Yoon Suk-yeol. So, us and many civic group leaders are gathered here to support.
Now let's understand the legal implications of the case. What next for impeached president? The current arrest warrant is viable until the 6th of January. It gives investigators only 48 hours to hold Yoon after he is arrested. Investigators must then decide whether to request a detention warrant or release him. The district court issued the warrant due to the likelihood that Yoon will not respond to summons without a justifiable reason. Once a celebrated public prosecutor known for his anti-corruption efforts, Yoon rose to the presidency in just a few years. However, his tenure has been marred by repeated scandals, culminating in the chaos of declaring martial law and sending troops and helicopters to the parliament, marking a dramatic fall from grace. Tanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
South Korea's acting president Choi Sang-mok said on Tuesday that he would immediately move to fill vacancies on the Constitutional Court in an effort to restore stability after the impeachment of two of his predecessors. Choi said that he would appoint 2 Constitutional Court justices immediately and a third when ruling and opposition parties can agree on nominating a candidate. Finance Minister Choi became acting leader on Friday after the impeachment of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. Staying with South Korea, the country's acting president Choi Sang-mok on Tuesday paid tribute to the victims of the Jeju airplane crash. Choi was accompanied by a group of officials as he laid flowers and bowed to pay respects at the memorial set up in Seoul. The acting South Korean president on Monday ordered an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operation system as investigators work to identify victims and find out what caused the disaster. Meanwhile, South Korean authorities said on Tuesday that the investigation intensified and they are making all-out efforts to hasten the identification of the 5 bodies that still remain unidentified by adding personnel and rapid DNA analyzers.
Sent DNA samples to the National Forensic Service to identify 32 unidentified individuals. Of those, 27 have been identified. Detailed re-examinations are underway for the remaining 5. We aim to receive and confirm the results as quickly as possible. However, I would like to emphasize that we worked through the night, deploying as much manpower as possible and making every effort to shorten the process.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has pledged to solidify ties with Russia in a letter to President Vladimir Putin. In his message, Kim conveyed New Year greetings to Putin and the Russian people and their troops in the country, while expressing his willingness to further enhance bilateral relations, which he said were elevated to new heights through new projects this year. Kim and Putin signed a mutual defense treaty in June, strengthening their strategic partnership. North Korea has since deployed thousands of troops to support Russia in its conflict with Ukraine. In the latest escalation, Ukrainian military intelligence claimed on Tuesday that its naval drone had destroyed a Russian helicopter and damaged another one in the Black Sea. Meanwhile, air defenses in Ukraine's capital of Kiev repelled a Russian air attack earlier in the day. Ukraine's Air Force announced a missile threat across the country. According to preliminary information, missile debris fell on a private building in one of the capital's districts, the city's military administration said on Telegram. This comes as Russia's Gazprom on Tuesday said it will pump a reduced volume of gas to Europe via Ukraine. The existing deal for Russian gas transit through Ukraine is set to expire from the early hours of January 1st after the current 5-year deal expires. Kiev has refused to negotiate a new transit deal as its conflict against Russia approaches the end of a 3rd year. Russian President Vladimir Putin said last week that there was no time left this year to sign a new Ukrainian gas transit deal, laying the blame on Kiev for refusing to extend the agreement. The Soviet-era Urengoy-Pomere-Yuzhgorod pipeline brings gas from Siberia via the town of Sudza, now under the control of Ukrainian soldiers in the Kursk region. It then flows through Ukraine to Slovakia. In Slovakia, the gas pipeline splits into branches going to the Czech Republic and Austria. You're watching DD India Live. Still to come on the show. ISRO launches the historic SpaceX mission to test space docking. And Quad celebrates its 20th anniversary, tracing its origins to the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami.
The year 2024 was marked by some historic elections across the continents, coupled with global unrest. Beat historic third-term win for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with unprecedented mandate, US President-elect Donald Trump making a spectacular comeback. Curtains down for the year 2024. What an year it was.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. In a major milestone, the Indian Space Research Organisation launched its year-end mission PSLV C60, carrying the Space Docking Experiment or SpaceX from Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. This historic mission aims to achieve a rare feat of docking 2 satellites in space. Just after 10 p.m. local time on Monday, PSLV C60 rocket lifted from the first launch pad at Sriharikota. Designed as a cost-effective technology demonstrator, SpaceX will showcase rendezvous, docking and undocking of 2 small spacecraft in low Earth orbit, paving the way for advanced in-space operations.
I'm really happy to announce the successful accomplishment of the launch of PSLV C60 for the SpaceX mission. The rocket has placed the satellites in the right orbit, which is 475 kilometer circular orbit. SpaceX 2 satellites are moved. You would have seen in the animation that they moved little one behind the other. So over the period of time, for the days, it will pick up further distance, travel to almost a 20 kilometer distance away.
ISRO is gearing up to achieve a significant milestone with a geosynchronous launch vehicle mission scheduled in January. It is set to become the 100th launch from the Sriharikota spaceport. Monday's PSLV C60 mission was the 99th launch from Sriharikota.
For us, this is the 99th launch of any launch vehicle from Satish Dhawan Space Center. So that's also a very important number. So we are going for the 100th launch and in the beginning of next year. In this 99th launch, the PSLV, the Corellian configuration of the PSLV C60, placed 2 SpaceX satellites weighing 220 kg into a circular orbit of 475 kilometers.
Following the success of the SpaceX mission, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Minister of State for Space and Technology, praised the team behind the mission. He also highlighted the importance of India's docking system and its significance in space exploration.
This is one of the first experiments undertaken by India as far as the docking technology is concerned. But I think what makes it special is that it is a purely indigenous technology, and that's why it's been appropriately named as Bharatiya docking technology. And that is very much in keeping with Prime Minister Modi's mantra of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Space missions are just a fraction of the cost of the counterpart missions sent by other agencies, though we are in a select lead of just about 3 or 4 nations. Our application of space technology in different sectoral projects is much higher in scale compared to any other country, whether it's the health sector, it's the agriculture sector. So you name any sector, space technology in India has been applied almost in every sector of development and every infrastructure project.
Indian government is extending all possible help in the matter of Nimisha Priya. In response to media queries regarding the case of Nimisha Priya, India's Ministry of External Affairs said that they are aware of the sentencing of Nimisha Priya in Yemen and also understand that the family of hers is exploring relevant options. Nimisha Priya from Kerala has been on the death row in Yemen since 2018 after being convicted of murdering a Yemeni citizen, Talal Abdo Mehdi, in 2017. Mehdi had abused her. Funds were also raised for her to pay for the blood money. The Quad partnership comprising India, Australia, Japan and the United States celebrated its 20th anniversary, tracing its origins to the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. Initially formed for disaster relief, the group has since evolved into a significant strategic alliance focused on a free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. A joint statement released by the 4 nations recognized the catastrophic impact of the 2004 tsunami. Nearly 250,000 lives displaced millions across 14 countries. The Quad nations, contributing over 40,000 emergency responders, worked together to provide critical relief. They emphasized that their commitment to humanitarian assistance remains strong, continuing efforts to address natural disasters and humanitarian crises. Over the past 2 decades, the Quad has expanded its focus beyond disaster relief to tackle complex regional challenges. The group now collaborates on issues such as climate change, health, quality, infrastructure, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies. The Quad leaders have met annually since 2021 to further strengthen these initiatives and drive positive outcomes across the Indo-Pacific region. And next we take a look at other stories making news today. The Indian Coast Guard and the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, signed a memorandum of understanding to enhance the medical training and capabilities of Coast Guard medical officers. The MOU focuses on providing specialized training for cardiopulmonary resuscitation, aiming to equip Coast Guard personnel with critical life-saving skills. Security was tightened in the national capital New Delhi ahead of New Year celebrations. The Delhi police have made security arrangements in Hoskars village, including patrols, CCTV cameras, as well as public announcement loudspeakers. The Kashi Vishwanath temple in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh is preparing to welcome devotees on the new year. Decorations are underway with a mesmerizing laser show organized at the Lalita Ghat to attract visitors. North India is reeling under a severe cold wave. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued warnings for extreme cold and dense fog across parts of northwest and central India, with conditions expected to worsen in the coming days. According to the Met Department, some areas in Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir will experience a severe cold wave till January 1st. The temperatures are to remain 3 to 5 degrees Celsius below normal in these regions, with New Year's Day adding to the chill. Dense to very dense fog is likely to remain till January 4th. Snowfall is expected to continue in Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. In Jammu and Kashmir, the season's heaviest snowfall in the last 2 days has disrupted the normal life of the residents and the tourists. Rescue efforts continue for those stranded amidst the heavy snowfall after the closure of the roads. Australia head coach Andrew McDonald remained hopeful that pace bowler Mitchell Starc would be available for the fifth and the final test against India. McDonald said that Starc had a niggle and a decision would be made closer to the match, which begins on 3rd of January in Sydney. The big left armour is crucial for Australia if they were to win the Border Gavaskar Trophy since 2014. Starc was in pain on the final day of the 4th test, pinching at his back and grimacing at the start of his spells. Australia have added Sean Abbott and Jay Richardson to the test squad. The hosts lead the 5-match series 2-1. In tennis, Arna Sabalenka opened her season with a straight sets victory on Tuesday at the Brisbane International and kickstart her bid to win the Australian Open for the 3rd consecutive time. The world number 1 surged through the second set to wrap up the match 6-4, 6-0. Sabalenka hopes to be the first woman since Martina Hingis to win 3 Australian Open crowns in succession. In other matches, Armenia's Elena Avenasyan stunned Spain's 4th seed Paola Badosa in the first match on the centre court. Nick Kyrgios lost in 3 tight sets on Tuesday in his first singles match since June 2023. Australian Kyrgios went down 7-6, 6-7, 7-6 to the Frenchman Giovanni Mapateshi Pericard. Grand Slam winner Emma Raducanu has pulled out of the Auckland Open due to a back injury. Raducanu has struggled with injuries since winning her only Grand Slam title in 2021 and skipped 5 tournaments in the WTA's Asia swing this year after suffering sprained ligaments in her foot. The 22-year-old also spent most of the last season recovering from ankle and wrist surgeries. Seeded 6th, Raducanu was set to clash with America's Robin Montgomery in her opening match. The tournament also features former Grand Slam champions Naomi Osaka and Sophia Kenin. New Zealand welcomed the New Year 2025 as the clock struck 12 in Auckland. New Zealand became one of the first countries in the world to celebrate New Year's Eve with a spectacular fireworks display from the Auckland Sky Tower to welcome in 2025. Following New Zealand, Australia is now gearing up to welcome 2025, which is just a few minutes from now. So as New Zealand rings in the new year, 2024 has begun its final chapter on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the world gears up to welcome 2025 with people bracing for the transition. In preparation for the New Year's Eve event in Germany at the Brandenburg Gate, foldable roadblocks, fences and security cameras were already lining the streets on Monday. In the US, preparations are in full swing at the Times Square and nearby areas. Roughly 1 million people will participate in the New Year's Eve celebrations, and many more will watch the transmission on television and online. Rio de Janeiro's iconic Copacabana beach was buzzing with activity on Monday as preparations for the world's largest New Year's Eve celebration were finalized. So along with the rest of the world, India is bidding farewell to 2024 and is set to welcome 2025 in a few hours from now. Tourists from around the globe are flocking to Goa for the New Year's celebrations. The party atmosphere began after Christmas in North Goa's coastal areas, with visitors from various states and countries joining in. Many come for the sun, sea and sand, while others enjoy the thrilling water sports like parasailing and jet skiing, making Goa the perfect destination for both relaxation and adventure this new year. New Year's Eve fireworks in this South African city make it all the more spectacular. From colourful parades to private family gatherings, the festivities reflect a blend of local traditions and global influences. DD India's Nazneen Ismail reports.
Good evening from South Africa. As the new year approaches, the air is filled with optimism and sparkling lights as people are abuzz with the festive cheer. The festive mood is infectious, laughter fills the streets, and the sparkling lights around us seem to mirror the brightness in everyone's eyes. There's a feeling of renewal, a fresh start that inspires optimism. Whether with loved ones or gathered in celebration, it's a time to reflect on the year gone by and embrace the possibilities that lie ahead. Together, we look forward to new beginnings, cherishing the moments that make life special, and welcoming a year filled with promise, growth, and happiness.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
Have a blessed year. Have a prosperous year. A year that is better than the last. Make next year be your best year. One message, make every day count, moment by moment, live in the moment and enjoy every day. Happy New Year from South Africa! Happy New Year, South
Africa! From South Africa, here's wishing you a safe, blessed and happy New Year. I'm Nazneen for DD India, Johannesburg. Good evening.
So countries across the world are lining up with their festivities ahead of 2025. Well, New Zealand was one of the first nations that welcomed the new year 2025 as the clock struck 12 in Auckland. New Zealand became one of the first countries in the world to celebrate New Year's Eve with a spectacular fireworks display from the Auckland Sky Tower to welcome in 2025. So following New Zealand, Australia is now all set to welcome 2025, which is now just under a minute away. So let's go to the Sydney Harbour there. There are about 20 seconds now left for the clock to strike 12 midnight in Sydney for the date to turn to 1st January 2025. So those were the dazzling display of fireworks at the Sydney Harbour. We in New Delhi are still a few hours away from the New Year. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We from the entire Doordarshan family also wish you a very happy New Year. That's it in this broadcast. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.